And given where we left off on our last conversation, where we really established the systemic horror that is going on in our education system, where so many children are carrying that long bag that is our shadow, which Robert Bly so aptly showed us, the long bag we drag behind us. So much of that bag is filled with shit that we didn't, that we experienced in school. Given where we left off, where does your book take us from there?
I try to take the ideas that I've developed in all my previous books. I've written 11 books before this one. I think 12 if you count a second edition of one. And I try to take them and extend them. I think the major way that I attempted in this work, and that I'm going to attempt in another book that I'll be doing with Routledge. This one was with Routledge. The next one will be with Routledge. I think what I'm going to attempt to do there is to move from what I call educational processes to educative acts. Now, what do I mean by that? Educational processes are what goes on in the schools. And that's what I've dealt with. All of Jungian psychology that we can bring to bear upon what goes on in the classroom has been my primary interest. I'm becoming more interested in the world as a classroom. What Moffat speaks about when he talks about the universal schoolhouse, and that all of our interactions are really teaching and learning situations. And we're all teachers and we're all learners at various times. And I want to address education more as a basic fact of our existence than something that's just happening in this educational space. So even and by the way, I'm not very computer savvy. So when I'm looking at the screen, should I be looking at you, Ryan, which is what I'm doing now, or looking at me?
Just look straight at the screen, whatever works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I prefer to look at you. And that's the point here.
Either way.
If I'm looking at you, I'm in a relationship with you. And I think that the major thing to know about teaching and learning is that it is a relationship. And if it's not a relationship, it's no longer teaching and learning. It's some kind of instruction. It's something mechanical. But if we're engaged in not just rote kinds of acts where I am the one empowered and you are the one trying to glean some of my power, or I'm the one who, as Paulo Freire says, the great Brazilian pedagogue, I'm the one who has all of the capital. I have all of the intellectual capital. You have none. And I'm the bank. And I'm going to give you some of my capital as long as you will obey what I say. And you'll let me know that you're obeying well on tests where you basically give back to me what I said to you. Freire calls that the banking model of education. And I agree with him that that has to be resisted. I'm more interested in the I thou, based upon the Jewish ethicist Martin Buber, whose great book I and Thou in 1965 said that the real essence of ethical behavior, the real essence of morality is that you and I be in an authentic relationship. You know, Ryan, if you and I and what we're doing here, if we are both, I want to say revealing or uncovering or allowing the other in a way that is sacred, in that it is part of your essential life narratives, and I'm doing the same. And we're risking something here, and we're both teaching and we're both learning, and we're both concerned with the growth of the other, and we both know that we enter the conversation fallible. We can be wrong. We have to enter a conversation believing what we believe, or else why the hell do it? It's just polemics then. If or it's false. So I believe what I believe, and you believe what you believe. But we know that everything is, as Sir Karl Popper said, it's all falsifiable. I might be wrong about something. I might be wrong about a lot of things. You too. And if we enter into a conversation in that spirit, then we have an I-thou relationship. Otherwise, it's just the banking model. I, it. You're my object. You're my pedagogical object. I don't
Mm,
care about you especially. You're a number on a Scantron sheet, a standardized test.
mm,
I'm not invested in you, and you're not invested in me, except you need the grade. I hold all the capital. Um, that's what we must move away from, and not only in the classroom with educational processes, but in educative acts.
any
And
form of
so
discourse, you could argue.
any form of discourse, and we're always involved in that. As I say in the book, I use the example that Winnicott uses when he talks about the romance of the nursing couple. From the very beginning, the mother and the child during nursing are involved in educating each other about what this thing called nursing means and how they're going to relate to each other and what the boundaries are and what the possibilities are and what it really means to reflect and be reflected, right up until the moment of death. At 66, I don't walk around dwelling on the fact, but I'm 66 and time is passing awfully fast and faster as I go. And even with increased longevity, there will come a moment in which I am about to depart. And
Hmm.
I hope that that's also a teaching and learning act for all of us involved, as we all are trying to shape narratives about what does this mean profoundly.
Mm,
And for me, when we're engaged in that, we're engaged in an educative act. And life is a series of those educative acts. And when it is, then we are deepening our narratives. Our narratives are becoming existentially richer and more spiritualized, and that's ethical. But if we're engaged in relationships where that's not happening and we're objectifying each other, that's not ethical.